Jen Soska. And I'm Sylvia Soska. And we're the Soska Sisters. And this is Indie Horror Junkie. Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkie.
We're a panic attack.
Indie Horror Junkie.
Indie Horror Junkies.
Indie Horror Junkie. Indie Horror Junkie.
It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreads.
Don't adjust your screens. It's not Otis. I didn't shave my head. This isn't how I look under all that. Otis is not going to be with us today. Neither is Asylum Amy. You got me, Rotting Ricky, okay? And I've got a great show lined up for you. But before I bring our guests on and introduce you and show you our trailer and all other good stuff, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping real quick here. Okay. First of all, we have a couple of film festivals coming up. We have the Mistress Mary Horror Film Festival, which is actually going to be on October 26th over at Cinema 6 in Port Richey. The submission process is just closed for that, so we're going to actually be announcing the lineup on the 10th. And then we have our Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest, which is going to be held at MegaCon. That's going to be held in February, the first weekend of February, actually. And the submission process of that, if you've got a short film, feature film, anything like that, get it into us. It's currently open, so we're accepting that. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you join us over at MegaCon, because we'll be there. The Junkies will all be there, and we'll be there with about 250,000 of our closest friends. So it'll be a blast of a time. We had a great time last year, and we're going to have an even better time this year. So that's open. We also have the new issue that's getting ready to come out, which is issue number 11. It's got The Death of Snow White, which is an amazing looking film that I can't wait to see. Our friend Peter Anthony's involved in it. That's getting ready to come out on the 13th of this month, which is just basically 8 days away. Now, we did open up the pre-sale for that magazine, which we've never done before. And the pre-sales have been absolutely nuts. I've actually had to reorder twice so far because it's pre-sold out. And so if you want to get a copy of it, definitely go to indiehorrorjunkie.com and you can order your copy now. We're doing a special promotion for people who order a copy of the magazine during this pre-order process. What we're going to do is basically we're going to take the names of everybody up until the actual release date, which is the 13th. Of all those names that we've got, we're going to pick 5 people. And those 5 people, when they get their issues sent to them, they're going to get a little something special inside their package. So definitely, if you want to get a copy or get 20 of them, now's the time to do it. Jump on there, indiehorrorjunkie.com, issue number 11, put your pre-order in, and starting on the 13th, we'll start shipping them out. I've already got them in. They look amazing, and I think that you're really going to be happy with them. So with that, we also have the Nightmare Collection, our own feature film that is going to be an Indie Horror Junkie production that is currently right now in the editing process, and we're actually going to be filming another short film here short with it. But the Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest, I'm sorry, I'm all screwed up. I'm all by myself, but I'm handling this, okay? The Mistress Mary Horror Film Festival, that's a mouthful, yeah. The one that's in October. We're actually going to be premiering that feature film there. So we're quickly editing it, getting things ready so you can actually see it there along with a bunch of other great short films and feature films. And you'll get to meet our own Mistress Mary live in the flesh. She'll be there with her nice little robe on and all that good stuff. She's a beautiful girl, Haley Landon, who you've seen in many of our promotions. She'll be there as Mistress Mary. So definitely come on down if you're in Florida at any time. If you're not in Florida, fly in. You could use a vacation, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and get right into our guests because we've got a lot to talk about and I want to get to them as quickly as possible. This is a family of filmmakers. And when I say filmmakers, I mean they write, direct, produce, edit, act, everything. Anything you could think of, this is it. This is like one-stop shopping for filmmakers. Okay, so I'm hoping all my filmmaker friends and actors and actresses are tuning in tonight, because I'm going to grill these people to find out how they do what they do, because their stuff is so good. It looks amazing. They're on Shudder. They're all over the place. They're at Fantasia. I learned about them. Really, I've seen bits and pieces, but didn't put it together as far as they go until last week when we had Michael Gingold on the show, and he could not stop raving about them. So once he said if it's coming from Michael Gingold, I got to look it up. So I looked them up. They were great. We had a spot that opened up here real quick, so I figured, let me see if I can get him in here, and they were very nice enough to join us. So we're going to have, I believe we're going to have the entire family with us tonight. So I'm really excited. I heard one of them's from Scotland and is going to make a special trip to this podcast just for me. Not really, but, at least hopefully we got him. So what I'm going to do, without further ado, I'm going to show you a trailer from essentially their latest film. It's called Hellhole. I actually watched this on Shudder. You can check it out on Shudder. It's called Hellhole. I'll show you the trailer. Once I do that, I'll bring them on, and then we'll get this party started, okay? So, without further ado, and I keep saying that because I'm stalling because I'm trying to find the trailer, but there it is. All right, here we go. Without further ado, here's the trailer for Hellhole.
I didn't choose to drill here. She didn't choose to drill here. We were told to drill here.
And if you find nothing of value?
Oh, we'll find something down there.
It's methane.
No, it smells organic. Give it another go.
Hey, whoa, stop! Holy shit.
Looks like we hit the meta log. Shall we grab some samples?
We just found this guy in a fucking ditch in the ground.
I saw something coming out from his nose.
It's organic. Living tissue.
Take it out of me!
Whatever was in him went into me.
I saw that. In a porno.
DNA-wise, they're cephalopods. You're saying there's a giant clam under our feet.
Nature is always finding ways to renew itself. Don't you see? We are the monsters.
All right. I am joined by the Addams family. How are you guys?
Great.
Hey,
How about
Rick.
you?
Not too bad. Why don't you get and introduce yourself so we know who we're talking to here?
John,
Toby, Lulu.
All right. And where's Zelda at?
Zelda is at Paris, France right now. She just started her junior year, and she's doing a year living in Europe.
Oh, wow. I went to France once. I didn't go to Paris, but I went to the Cannes Film Festival, and we stayed a week in Paris. I mean, not Paris, Nice. Before we headed over to Cannes.
She's nice. How did you see what I did?
Nice was nice. Absolutely. That was a pun I got to get. But yeah, I enjoyed that. So, wow. Lucky girl. All right. Well, I saw Hellhole, and I have to admit that I had never heard of it before. I'm a big fan of Shudder, so the fact that you're on Shudder, that's amazing, and I can see why, because you guys did an amazing job. It looks like a studio film, and I think what impresses me the most is not just the fact that you all made that yourselves, but you acted in it, you did the soundtrack, you did all that stuff, and I'm kind of beside myself as to how this all happened, and how this all happened as quick as it did. So let's get right into it, because I want to learn everything about you guys, and I want everybody else to as well. Plus, also, this is live, so we may have some people chime in with some questions. If I see anything that's worthy, I will bring it up so we can respond to it right away and go from there. So without further ado, why don't you explain to us how this all began?
Sure, yeah. So after we made our film Hellbender, we were invited to be on Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, which was an incredible honor and so much damn fun. And the producers of that they're not the funeral home. Producers said, "Hey, what are some things you got cooking?" And John mentioned an idea that he and Zelda had when they were traveling through the oil fields of Alberta. And they were like, "Oh my God, he'll get to that later, I'm sure." But they said, "Well, let's explore this further." And the next thing you know, Lulu from South Korea is writing a script, and then we're off to the races and shooting in Serbia.
Very cool. Now, when exactly did this filmmaking bug start? How did it happen? Was it alcohol induced? Explain to me how this all came to be.
This came to be because we all had a dream about how many years ago, Lulu? 15?
2010.
2010. So
Yeah.
14 years ago, we all kind of had a dream. We all wanted to do a movie, and we all wanted to do it together. The girls wanted to be actors. Toby's career had kind of slowed up a little bit. I was kind of drifting in the art world, and we just decided, you know what, instead of waiting for permission for people or doing castings or something like that, Toby's a great writer. She wrote us a script. We bought an RV. We lived on the road for a year, and we made a movie called Rumble Strips, which was supposed to be a ghost story, but then it turned out to just be a drama. And it took us about 5 years for us to make our first horror.
Really? Yeah, I was gonna say, because when I was looking up your bio and everything, it looks like you've made a few movies, but they weren't horror. And then all of a sudden, once the horror bug bit, now that's it. You guys are in it.
Filled with blood. Yep.
So what made that switch? Were you always fans of horror and just never got around to it? Or then once you did it, you figured out this is our niche? How did that happen?
I think that we just, that first film was so dark, and our kids were so young, and we just weren't kind of ready to go there. But the bug was always there. And so I think we just kind of maybe had to earn it. And then when we were ready to roll, we were ready to roll. It was like falling in love hard. And I don't think we ever wanted to turn back.
Yeah, I don't think we wanted to I think we wanted to take horror seriously. And when we made our first movie, I don't think we felt like we were going to nail it. And we also weren't ready to get super spiritually dark. It wasn't until Toby was working on a script. Lulu, Zelda, and I were kind of bored. It was wintertime. We were up here in the Catskills, and Zelda said, "Let's just make a horror movie." And I was like, "Well, you don't just make a horror movie, but what are you thinking?" And she said, "I want to kill grown men. I want to make a movie where I kill grown men." So me, Lulu, and Zelda made a movie where she kills a bunch of grown men. And it was really fun. And we got into a festival called Horror Hound, and everything changed with that movie. It was a short little movie called The Hatred. And we met the horror community. We were very welcomed in. The movie was received like super nicely. We got some hate and things like that, but it was kind of beautiful. And we realized, this is the kind of people, these open-minded, welcoming kind of people that we want to be a part of. And we've been home ever since.
Yeah, that's the thing about that I've learned. I mean, I've always been a fan of horror, but I love all movies and stuff. But to me, especially once I got here with Indie Horror Junkie and doing the horror movies like this, that horror community is so inviting, and they support you so much. They're always coming out. It doesn't really matter. It's like if your heart's there and you're putting stuff into it or whatever, these people are going to support you and root you on. So it's an amazing feeling, and I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, and what's great about horror is it's basically making dramas but covering them with blood. And so what's great about the horror community and of us all talking together and doing podcasts like this is we're all talking about issues that are important to us, but we get to talk to them. We get to talk about them hidden in blood and hidden in monsters and hidden in violence. And so it's a great way to talk about issues that should be talked about.
Absolutely. Now, I noticed also when I was watching Hellhole and even some of the other stuff that I was looking at here before, I noticed that obviously you guys are doing the horror and doing the blood and guts, which is great. But I also noticed there's a lot of comedy. I mean, is that something that's on purpose, that you enjoy that aspect?
Yes. I think in all of our films, we're just always trying to kind of laugh about the horrible things in life and the good things.
I hear you.
Always just being honest about what's going on for us, and humor is such a great way, especially when you're talking about so many heavy things that relate to a lot of people. It's a great genre to use in any other kind. You can have it in romance and everything. So I think horror is great for that as well. You can still have that comedy, that romance, all of them in there.
Absolutely. I saw one of the videos on your website where obviously you had the family together and you were talking about getting the camera and finally buying a camera and getting the RV and getting out and getting started. How rocky was that process when you decided this is it? I'm going to make movies here. I'm going to buy a camera and get an RV and we're going to go out and shoot it. Of course, obviously, it probably wasn't 6 months later and your movie's out in Fantasia. So tell us about how rocky that was. And were there any times where you thought about maybe this wasn't the right call for me?
No, it kind of went like gangbusters. I mean, the kids were 6 and 11 on that first film, but it's pretty crazy. But it really set off something that hasn't changed much for us. We still kind of make movies the same way. We live in tandem with our shooting. So like our filmmaking and our living are very much interwoven, and that really works for us. It's really fun. It's really convenient. We have great stories to tell, and they kind of last forever on celluloid. So right from the start, we realized we were onto something, and it went pretty well. I think because for us, two things are really important to us. One is having fun. That's a huge part of our philosophy. We work really hard, but we make sure that it's fun. And the other thing is we work really hard. And so, as long as we're doing that, it's kind of very worthwhile. And everything we're learning, we just spurs us into the next film. We don't stop to gather moss.
And you know what? Indie Horror Podcast, so you guys understand this. Technology and our dreams all coincided at the right time. This is the time to be an independent filmmaker because you can afford the cameras. You can go to YouTube and type in, how do I edit? And it will tell you how to edit on Premiere Pro. All these things are at our disposal now, instead of having to go get a producer or having to go to the industry and ask for permission. Now you just got to grant yourself permission, have $1,000, and you can make a movie. So it's pretty great.
You're absolutely right. Now, I know that you all do pretty much everything. Now, is that pretty much everything? In other words, do you outsource some stuff? Because I did notice some CGI and stuff like that. Or do you guys do that yourself? You tinkering that with yourself? Or how does this work?
Well, normally in our films, we have an honorary fifth family member, and his name is Trey Lindsay, and he's phenomenal. And he is our wonderful VFX wizard, and he also does amazing practical effects, stop motion. And so when we knew that we were going to do Hellhole, which was a production that Shudder was behind that production, and the producers I mentioned before from Not the Funeral Home, they brought in a wonderful crew out of Serbia with whom they've worked before, and also they brought in Todd Masters. So he's someone, this is the iconic, monster maker who's been around a while and done so many fantastic productions. And we actually got to work with him. He flew to Serbia and he worked with us. So he was on the ground with us and Trey making this monster magic. His team, Masters FX, did an amazing job with the monster. And so normally it would be the 5 of us. This time it kind of grew about 10 times that. And we got to work with Todd.
Excellent. So you're up for growing the family too, because our buddy here, Howard Hawkins, just said if you want to adopt an older guy, he is housebroken. So just put that out there.
Well, sorry, the housebroken part we can't deal with. We break houses.
So with that said, give us an idea, because like I said, a lot of filmmakers and stuff like to tune in to watch the show, and they're always looking for the inside scoops on how you do certain things and make certain things happen. Give us like an idea, and I know every movie is different and every process is different, but what is your standard process? Do you write a script, you all do it together, and then you go over it and you cast it yourselves? And give us an idea of like just behind the scenes on how you make things happen.
We talk a lot. And so we have a million ideas. That's one of the best things about being a family of filmmakers, is that we're all together all the time. Even if she's living in Korea and the other one's in France or whatever, we're always talking about ideas. And usually when the right idea hits, we all know it. And once the right idea hits, the process starts. And sometimes we'll even start shooting before we really fully understand a whole lot of it, because there's a lot of painting with the camera going on, and there's a lot of understanding of the story going on. So we like the story to kind of tell itself. And and to unfold in front of us. But that's the advantage that we have, that it's the four of us together. So we're always together. And that's really how it starts. And a lot of the time what'll happen is Toby's really in charge of the script and making sure that the script and the real storytelling really comes to fullness. We each have started to take on different jobs. What do you think about that, Toby?
Yeah, we all have certain strengths and we lean upon those strengths, but we also can be pretty interchangeable too. I mean, Lulu has great ideas. She came in with Hellhole, and so much of the DNA from her original script, especially the fun element to it, is all thanks to Lulu's wonderful imagination. Zelda's great with the camera, and she's really grown as a director as well. So yeah, we're kind of like, it's a very symbiotic relationship.
But it sounds like you don't do it the traditional method by writing a script and doing table reads and stuff like that. Starting, it sounds like you start shooting before the script's even complete, and just like you said, kind of letting it manifest.
Often that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 100%, and it's fun. We have a band together called Hellbender, and a lot of the time the music will influence the story too, or the story will influence the music. So there's a lot of things that are going on in unison as our films unfold, and that's been the way it's been since our first movie. Since our very first movie. Mm-hmm. And what's very lucky about what we can do is we can shoot scenes and bring them home, and we edit them pretty fast, and we can look at them, and if they suck, we can go shoot them again, and if they keep sucking, we can drop them and figure out, well, okay, we need something better. So it is very advantageous. In some ways, the industry has the disadvantage of they got to shoot something in 2 weeks, and what they get, they get.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was talking with Toby earlier off camera about the band. A couple questions I want to ask about the band. First off, I actually went back and looked at some of the videos and listened to some of the music, and I was telling her the first thing that hit me is it sounded so much like the band Muse. I'm a big fan of the band Muse, and your style and even the singing and everything reminded me of that. I'm like, oh, is that like a big inspiration? Because I was a huge fan of that.
We love Muse. And there was a time when the kids were younger that we really were influenced by Muse. So that's a great call. Our influences change a lot. And right now it's funny, we've been influenced by punk, we've been influenced by metal, we've been influenced by bands like Muse, Pigs.
It was Courtney Barnett for a while.
Yeah. We just love music. The girls turn us on, like Lulu turns us on to, like you turned us on to Slow Mosa.
Yeah.
And that had a huge effect on everything. And so it just kind of depends on what the girls like, what Toby likes, and we let it influence us.
Now, is the band pretty much its own entity, whereas you write music and you develop music and you play and stuff like that? Or was the band pretty much primarily just to create music for the films that you're making?
Well, John's always writing. Like right before we got on with you, he was working on a new song that sounded so great. Thanks. So it's just kind of always there. Sometimes the music influences the film. In the case of Hellbender, we were making a video for a Hellbender song, Dark Sky, and while we were shooting it, we were like, oh my God, this is such a cool witchy vibe. Let's take this further and discover, really explore what this concept of a Hellbender is, and that turned into Hellbender the movie. So and for Hellhole, that was more John. That wasn't as much a band kind of deal as John really composing that.
Yeah, I just needed to write to the movie, and I just wanted the movie to have a fun vibe to it. So I kind of tried to mix punk and metal in with kind of Euro beats, so that it had that feel to it that is, for me, a lot of fun. And I hope the audience enjoys it too. It was a lot of fun to do that soundtrack.
Yeah, well, I definitely enjoyed it. I listened to some of the music videos and watched those. I really think you guys having some fun with that and stuff. And I really like it. Where do you guys find the time? I mean, it's just with music and the films and stuff like that, it's amazing. But I mean, my hat's off to you. With regards to the filming process, what kind of camera do you use? Or do you use several different kinds of cameras?
We always use a Canon 5D, and then we just turned over to a Canon C70.
Okay. And you edit on what program do you edit on primarily?
Premiere Pro. We started out on Final Cut, and then when they changed to Final Cut X, we moved to Premiere Pro. We love Premiere Pro, and we mix our music in Pro Tools.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I work with and a lot of filmmakers that I know, Premiere seems to be the main thing, but a lot of them are switching over to DaVinci and so and using that. So to me, it's some of them use both. So it really depends, I guess, on the project. But all right. So with that said, I know that Hellhole's out right now. What do you have in the works that's coming up next?
Oh, fun stuff. Go ahead, Tony.
We've got actually two things coming down the pipe. There's a movie called Slug, and then there's a movie called Mother of Flies.
I like that.
And while we have Lulu here for a short visit from Scotland, she just finished a really fun scene from Mother of Flies that I'm very excited about. So those two things are coming down the lane.
Are those going to be associated with Shudder as well, or are those pretty much something you're going to do and then we'll see what happens after it's done?
That's the way it's going to be for those ones. We love Shudder's great. Like we'd shoot a movie any day for Shudder. We love them very much. But we also just love making our movies and doing the festival circuit, because that's our chance to go out and meet people. We, like we said before, we love the horror community. We love to travel. We learn so much from the other filmmakers, from the audience members, from the people who book these events. So the festival circuit is really important to us. So we'd like to make our own movies, put them on the festival circuit, and then, sell them to somebody like Shudder or Tubi or whoever wants to buy them.
We've been really happy with the group called Yellow Veil Pictures. And our last few films, we've worked with them. They really get us, and we love their roster of films. And so it's fun to be involved with them, and they've always guided us well, whether it's festivals or sales.
Yeah, that's something I definitely wanted to touch on, because I run a film festival myself. I've been doing my Halloween horror picture show for 20 years. I've got Mistress Mary this will be our final year for that, and now the Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest. And I talk to filmmakers and actors and actresses a lot, and they're always asking about what my process is. Once the movie's done, what do you do? Do you recommend doing the film festival circuit to get your reviews, collect your laurels, to meet people, or do you just stay away from that and just try and go straight to finding a distributor? And if so, how is that? Because everybody's so scared about working with distributors this day, especially since COVID, where they feel most distributors are just crooks and this and that. So they're always tuning in and asking me things like that. So for people like yourself, especially after you've been on Shudder and stuff, what would be your advice to young filmmakers that are getting their first horror movies done or whatever? What would you recommend that they look into and do to get the word out there and hopefully pick up for distribution?
We feel that going to festivals is priceless, and it's your way to have basically a theatrical release, because you're playing for very rabid audiences that are enthusiastic about film, and you're playing on big screens with great sound systems, and you need to catch up. Hopefully your film will catch a buzz, and then buyers come because they want product, and they want, what's it called, that word that everyone uses that I can't stand?
IP?
No, not not IP, but like it's called content. Yeah, like they want content, and so if your content gets written up in Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central and wherever else, suddenly they come and they will come to you.
Yeah, I've always been a big proponent of film festivals, even if it's not my own, because like you just said, it's a chance to see it in front of an audience that's going to appreciate it. You're going to get great feedback. You're going to get, like you said, a semi-theatrical release for it. Plus, also, if you win, it's always fun collecting those laurels and putting them on the posters. But that's word of mouth. I mean, a lot of those people, they're looking for stuff like, where's it played? How did it play out? So I think that's a big thing.
Our whole business model is based on 80s hardcore bands, which is play every club that you can play and don't stop fucking playing. Because I was one of the kids in the audience where the Minutemen played. I was one of the 3 people out there, and they changed my life. And so there's a wonderful culture out there. Yep. The horror community is the modern day carny circuit. It's the modern day punk rock circuit. So if you're a filmmaker, go get on the circuit because you're going to love it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. That's why I wanted to ask you to make sure you felt the same way I did. Absolutely. Okay. Another question I have for you. Since you guys do everything from writing, directing, producing to acting, okay, is there any element that you feel you enjoy most? Not saying that you don't want to do it all, but just like maybe somebody loves to get in front of the camera more and bring some of these characters to life, or maybe somebody just loves writing a script and bringing these stories to life. Is there, for each of you, which is it that you probably favor?
What about you, Lo?
Me first. I like all the kind of small things. I kind of like the detail-oriented things, and I prefer to be behind the camera usually, and kind of organizing little things, catching little things, thinking about little shots. Actually, yesterday I was on a run, and I ran by a dead mouse, and I came back home, and I was like, we need a dead mouse for like an eerie little thing in the corner for a shot. What do you guys think about that? So those kind of things are my favorite things, all the tiny, tedious little kind of hints in shots.
You need somebody like that. Absolutely. How about you, Toby? Which one do you prefer?
You know, I come from acting like long before I became a filmmaker, but I have to say I've worked with so many great directors, whether in theater or TV or film, that now I kind of love that language of talking to an actor. I really do.
I got to say about Lulu, the other thing that you're amazing at, and we couldn't have made all of our movies. Lulu's the hardest worker ever. And we wouldn't have our sets built. We wouldn't have the trees cut that needed to be cut. We wouldn't have the camera angles from up in the trees
in a blizzard,
or the car or the shooting out another car in a Lulu is the person ever since she was 11 years old that I could say, Lulu, do you mind taking the camera and climbing that cliff? Because we want like a drone shot. We can't afford a drone. And in 5 minutes, Lulu's at the top of the cliff and her shots were impeccable. And there was never any like, I don't know if so you can say it's the small things, but to me, what you've contributed is the big things. And that includes like the script for Hellhole. Like we needed that done. And we asked you, could you take this one? And you did it. And you delivered it in 3 weeks, and it was beautiful. And so it's not the small things. She's being modest. It's big things.
That's awesome.
I do a lot of the set building with my dad. So if we're counting on things we like to do in a group, I'll say that now.
That's so awesome. And just the fact that, like you said, you do it as a family. Therefore, to me, it's not just the fact that you can depend on people because they're your family. They're not going to screw you over. You know that you can. You have I think you have your fingers in the pulse of each other because you got that family bond. But also, just the fact that you're doing it together as a family, that's also keeping you close as a family. The fact that you love doing it and stuff like that, I think that's just priceless. I mean, that's an amazing thing. Absolutely. All right. Now, another couple questions I had here for you. I know, like I said, we talked early on. How long has this, I think you said 2010 is when this process really started?
Yep.
Who was it that came up with the genius idea that that's it, we're going to make movies together as a family? Who was it that finally said that, and how did that transpire?
Well, I was kind of kvetching about things. You know, I was about to hit 40. We'd moved out to Los Angeles, and my acting career had sort of really waned when I was reaching 40. And so I was kind of complaining about it. And I remember John saying, well, just write your own damn movie. And so we decided, you know what, let's all make a movie. Yeah, John's amazing, is a really great painter. He's a great artist. And so I think it was very natural for him to pick up the camera. I love writing. And so I really enjoyed thinking about that. The kids were into acting, and we all kind of have this adventurous spirit. So thankfully, so we just said, sure, we don't know what we're doing, even better, because we had that naivete, when you're starting out and you don't know much, you're not burdened by the fears. It's just that innocence kind of, it gives you courage. And so that gave us a lot of courage. So I think that's just the general picture.
Yeah, but I think John also said it well at the beginning too, when he talked about this was the perfect time. The technology that you have now makes things easier. The fact that you've got a YouTube, or if you don't know how to do something, YouTube has a video about everything. You just plug it in. What is it you want? And they'll show it to you. So you've got all those tools that you may not have had 20, 30 years ago. Filming. You're not filming on film, so you don't have to worry about the cutting and this and that or whatever. You're filming on video. So the editing process is so much easier and so much. So I think that you're absolutely right. We've got tools right now that just make things easier, that there really is no excuse. If you want to make a movie, just freaking go out there and make a movie.
Yes.
So,
And people want to hear what you have to say, you know, whether it's shot with an iPhone or a Canon 5D, or if you're rich, you can shoot it with an RE. But it's like people want to hear what whoever you are has to say, because that's what's, especially in horror, there's so much to talk about. And everybody has their own individual story that is very interesting. And when you cover it in blood and accentuate it a little, it becomes more interesting.
That's true. I totally understand. Another thing that keeps getting brought up a lot by filmmakers and stuff, especially some of my film festivals, is everybody says, oh, if you really want to be a filmmaker or you really want to be an actor, you got to move to LA. Everybody's got to live in LA. You're wasting your time. And I have never felt more strongly against that than anything. What are your thoughts? To me, like you said, if you anywhere you go that you can make a movie, there are so many outlets, from the film festivals, from the distributors, everything else. You can get your movie seen. It doesn't matter where you are. So what are your thoughts on that as far as the locale? You're in New York, so you're not in LA.
We moved out of LA.
We did LA to start.
We moved out of LA and made movies. Because exactly that. Now, hey, we love LA movies and Hollywood movies. They're really fun. But no, if you want to move quick and get your shit done, don't move out there. Stay in your community and make a movie.
Well, I remember the first book I read as a filmmaker was a book by Robert Rodriguez called Rebel Without a Crew. And I remember he specifically talked about that, where he said that my dream was, I'm going to get this script. I'm going to walk into an LA diner. I'm going to sit down, start reading the script. A producer's going to walk up to me. Hey, what are you doing? Or whatever it is. And let's talk about it. And then we're going to make a movie. And then he goes there, sits down, pulls out his script, starts looking down, looks down the counter. And there's 8 other people thumbing through their scripts and stuff like that. So he said that's why he did all his stuff in Texas, where he was from, because, and like here in Florida, we have people calling us all the time, telling us, hey, you want to film here? We'll give you our location for free. We got actors just wanting to be a part of it. In LA, you're going to pay for freaking everything. It doesn't matter because everybody's filming there. Everybody's doing it. So I'm a big proponent of film where you are, because not just that, but you know where you are. You know locations. You have a better feel for what you can do and what you can't do. To me, it's just, just do it. If you've got the drive and the intensity, wherever you are, I don't care. Just make a movie and you'll find a way to get it out there.
We agree with you 100%.
Yeah. All right. You agree with me. That's always good because I know everything. So, all right. This is Susan saying that you guys are just the
no, she's the coolest. Susan's the coolest. She knows Antarctica and takes
hangs
pictures.
out with penguins.
Yeah. That's what we love is meeting people like Susan. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the community. I mean, that horror community is amazing. Have you guys ever been to MegaCon in Florida?
What's that?
No.
Never been to MegaCon? It's held once a year. Well, no, excuse me. I think it's held twice a year now, but it's being held again in February. And it is absolutely insane. And what they've been doing, we've been there for the past, I've been there for the past 5 years. I've been doing my Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest last year, and we're doing it again this year. What's really nice about it is I think they're getting that horror bug, and they're wanting to create their own little horror area. They made a whole big horror hall, and they try to keep everybody together with the film festivals and the different events. And so many people go out there. And like I said at the beginning, last year, I think they had about 250,000 people there that weekend. Wow. So it's amazing the people that you'll meet. I mean, if you just look at their film festival, I mean, not the film festival, but the convention itself, some of the guests they bring in is unbelievable. But there's such a strong horror community that it's like we're just thriving with that and growing that. And they're not really horror, but they're getting that way. So we're definitely so we would love to try and get you guys down one day. I think wonderful. Yeah, and that's another thing about the film festival circuit is because, like you said, it's not just a chance to get your film seen. And I'm talking to all the indie filmmakers out there, but it's also a chance where you're in the attendance. They may bring you up and put you on a panel so you can talk about your movie, so they can put eyes on you guys and dig in and find out what makes you tick and what's going on. So it's just such an opportunity to get not only your film out there, but to get yourselves out there and what you do and how you do it and help you, grow your audience, which is to me amazing. Absolutely. And just a reminder, everybody, if you look at the bottom of the screen scrolling by over there, this is where you can find them. definitely look at those websites. I've got that up there for the duration of the show. Look these people up. They are absolutely amazing. And definitely hit them up.
And let's shout out Michael Gingold right now, because he's the one who got us on this show, because he is a super smart lover of art, but most of all, lover of horror. Like,
yes,
so fun to talk to. If you read his articles, he writes for everyone, and he's just a great guy.
Oh, there's a message for you, Lulu.
Nice.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you, Susan. I'll give it a little ruffle for you.
Yeah. Michael Gingold's unbelievable, because we had him on the show there, and what gets me is, like you said, he's not just the fact that he's a fan of horror, and he's been a fan of horror for so long, but he just rattles off names and the most obscure facts that you're like, where do you keep all this? Unbelievable.
He's fun to go. We had a great dinner with him a couple months ago, and he was really fun, because he was just like, it was like sitting down with an encyclopedia.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
We got to do like a horror shot dissecting his brain.
Yeah. It was funny because when we were on the show, he actually brought up something that he did. I didn't know he has that book, Ad Nauseum. I don't know if you've read that book or seen that book. I went ahead and bought it. But I thought I was the only freak when I was young, because I used to clip out the ads for all the horror movies. And I used to get those photo albums. And Lulu, you're going to know what that is since you're as young as you are. But we used to have these photo albums, and I used to put the ads in those photo albums and keep them. And now he goes and makes a freaking book out of it.
That's very cool. Do you still have it?
My photo albums?
Yeah.
No, but I still have the book Ad Nauseum.
Great.
Yeah. And the book is cool because he shows the ads for the movies, but then he also talks a little bit about it, about how the marketing started, and he gives you some insight. It's not just showing you the ads, but it really shows you how they promoted the films. And the first book is all about the 70s and 80s, which I heard you say you're a fan of the 80s. I live for the 80s. I am a huge 80s fan. So, you talked about Minutemen, I think it was. I haven't really heard of that.
Flag, the whole like late 80s, mid 80s hardcore movement was, I was a kid that lived upstate, and bands from all over the country, all over the world, actually, I found me and I found them. And that's really fascinating. That's with no internet. That's with, how we all bumped into each other. It was all just hard work, people getting in vans and showing up at clubs. It was really cool.
Yeah, in the 80s, I was a big punker. I was always out of the Ants, Susie and the Banshees and stuff like that. But I got into, like you, I got into music of all genres. So kind of segueing here with that, as filmmakers and stuff, who are your major influences? Who is it that you watched, you read, or whatever it is, and you said, like, I would like to try and emulate something like that they would do or whatever? Do you have any major influences that influence what you do?
Sure. I mean, going way back, I really love F.W. Murnau's films. I'm excited about Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu.
Oh my God, me too.
One of my favorite films is one of his from 1928 called Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. It's German expressionism. It's so wonderful. So I love films like that. And then these days, there's some female filmmakers that I'm really kind of just, I want to watch everything they do, and I'd love to be a fly in their brain. People like Julia Ducournau, Titan and Raw. I just think she's the coolest. I love Jennifer Kent's work. There's some Mexican filmmakers I'm really into. Michelle Garza, I'm forgetting her last name. She did Huesera the Bone Woman, Isa Lopez. I mean, there are a lot of really wonderful filmmakers out there. Prano Bailey Bond out of the UK. I can't wait to see what she's up to next.
Nice. How about you, John?
Oh, I love so many filmmakers. But I just love films. And so like a film that just still really strikes me is a film called The Innocents out of Norway. It just really impressed me. But I'm always impressed by filmmakers that have a tone that's original. And so, Tim Burton's an obvious example of someone who just has this tone, and he always has it. But there's lots of filmmakers like that, and I really admire them. Who's the guy who makes the ones that Zelda loves so much? Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
I admire these people that can really have a tone. When there's this many movies out there, they can all kind of blend in together. And if someone can make a movie that stands out, oh, I love that.
And you, Lulu, any inspirations on your end?
Whoopi stole mine. I think it was Julia Ducournau, but I do really like who you became good friends with, I believe, When Evil Lurks, the makers of When Evil Lurks. What are their names?
Damien Runia.
Yeah, I freaking loved that film. To me, it was great because a lot of movies have already kind of worked through themes of religion and horror, but I thought they really creeped me out and made me uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
That time. Often I find a lot of tropes. I'm like, okay, maybe I know where this is going. This one, I was so uncomfortable with the buildup. I knew, and it made you lose your trust early on, which is great when you have your trust broken. So you're just on edge. You're like, nah, you would let something bad happen. I love that.
Damien had a tone. That movie has a tone.
It does.
And it's exceptional.
You guys should watch Terrified. It's
Yeah.
a film.
I can't wait to
seating
watch
film
that
because
one.
that's
Yeah.
so great. Have you seen, Rick, have you seen Terrified by Damien Runia?
No, I have not. Where can that be seen?
He's
Shudder.
He's probably on Shudder. Terrified. Have you seen When Evil Lurks?
No, but I heard about it. I mean, I read about it. I'm coming down
That's
here.
on Shudder as well. He's from Argentina. He's a wonderful filmmaker and a really great guy. He's just going to do insane things in his hopefully long career.
I am definitely going to look that one up. So as we talk about inspirations, and you said about wanting to have somebody that basically sets a tone and does something like that. So I guess you're probably not a big fan of Mr. Tarantino, since he pretty much steals from everybody. And does
We have fun.
He's fun. Very fun. Actually, my favorite scene ever in any movie is the opening of Inglourious Bastards when the Nazi interrogates the French milk farmer. I mean,
yes,
it's genius.
Mm-hmm.
And wonderful and great horror.
And they have a lot of humor as well. I mean, in the batting scene where he's just dragging that bat down the hallway when they're about to go torture some of the Nazis.
Right.
They had such great humor with it. They just made it all hilarious, but it was so brutal.
Look, I love anybody that can complete a movie. If somebody completes a movie, we'll watch it and we'll love them because we know how hard it is. Like, it's hard to make a movie. So if somebody pulls it off, we put our eyes on it and we're like, wow, these guys.
And I said that in jest because Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, he's a guy that could take a conversation of you just sitting at a table like you did in Reservoir
Real with cheese, Pulp Fiction.
Exactly. How do you do that and keep everybody riveted and stuff like that with his dialogue? So he's amazing to me. So absolutely. And one of my favorite movies is a movie that he didn't direct, but he wrote, which is True Romance. You ever see True Romance?
Great movie.
I absolutely love that movie. So he's a genius. So all right. So getting ready to close out here. Anything that you would like to, because like I said, we have a lot of filmmakers and stuff that tune in to watch the show. Is there any kind of inspiration or any kind of a dialogue that you would like to pass on to them for what they're getting ready to do or what they're maybe getting ready to embark on that you could explain to them, hey, stick to this, do this, or whatever it is, or any words of wisdom that you would like to pass on?
Yeah, make a movie.
Just get out there and shoot it.
Start immediately. Don't wait for money. Don't wait for permission, and be honest.
Yes. Absolutely.
I would say make your movie and not someone else's movie.
Yeah.
Because I think often people think they need to be influenced by someone and make a movie that's like Tarantino, let's say. But that's Tarantino's movie. Make your movie. I want to hear your voice, not someone else's voice. You got to reach deep into your authentic, creativity and imagination, and that's what I want to see, and I think that's what makes people unique.
Now, how about you, Lulu? Is it go out there and collect every dead mouse you can find and use it for inspiration? Talk to me.
I was actually going to say something along those lines. Yeah, I was going to say, whatever you want to scrounge together, enjoy putting weird things together and letting that be what you want, not to look aesthetic. But make something odd with what you have.
Nice.
Great point. And one of the things I was going to mention too, once again, about that book from Robert Rodriguez. What are your thoughts on film school? Because in his book, he says don't go to film school. He tells you that money that you would have spent on film school, go out and make a movie because you'll learn more on set than you'll ever learn in the classroom. there's a lot to be said for that, if you ask me.
Yeah, we obviously agree with that 100%.
Yeah, we definitely come from the school of no film school.
Yeah, we're not knocking anybody
Not
who
at
goes
all.
to film school, but there is absolutely, there's no reason to go to film school. But there is a reason to get up and turn your camera on and film something.
Yep, absolutely, totally agree. Well, once again, I can't thank you guys enough for joining me. It's been a great podcast. We've learned so much about you. I think you guys are all amazing at what you do, and the way you do it is truly inspirational. And I can't talk about you guys enough. Michael was great for turning you guys on to me, and you have a big fan in me going forward. If we can write something about you in Indie Horror Junkie, I'm on it. Just give me the scoop. I'll get it in there for you. Any way we can help you, I'm behind you 100%.
You're
Well,
wonderful
thank
to
you,
invite
Rick.
us tonight. And
Yeah.
we really appreciate it. Really nice time.
And hopefully we'll see you down in Florida.
Yeah.
And if we can make it happen, we want to make it happen because I would love to get you on stage. I think our horror community would eat you up over there.
That'd be great. We'd love to be.
Smooth and all.
Yeah, right. It's a place where people get eaten up. So
Well, I know you're all about the blood, John. We've already mentioned that many times. So
yeah.
We'll make that happen.
All right.
All right, guys. Take care. You guys have a great evening, okay?
Peace.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye, Susan.
All right. Once again, that's the Addams family. Like I said, I heard about them from Michael. He couldn't stop talking about them, saying that they're an original voice in this indie horror scene, and that they're going to be making some noise. They're already making some noise, and I think he's absolutely correct, because right after he told me about that, I looked him up on Shudder. I started watching Hellhole, and it just was so much fun, and you could just feel, how much they enjoyed doing what they're doing in front of and behind the camera. And there's a lot, like he said, to be said about that. So go out there, get your camera, pick it up, go out and make something. Because whatever you do, it's going to be coming from you, and it's going to help you grow as a filmmaker. Don't worry about what people are going to think about it. As long as it comes from you, it'll all be okay. All right. So once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us. I was unfortunately on my own today. My partner's abandoned me, but it's okay. We'll all get back together again next week. I still love him. I'm probably just going to, charge him a little bit for it. But I thought that I was successful. I mean, I got it all done, and here we are. So. You guys take care. I'm going to go ahead and show you our closeout banner here real quickly so you guys can see that. And then I'm going to go and say goodbye to my guests. So have a great evening. Thank you guys for joining us.